Okay, so thank you for tuning in again. I appreciate all of you, and I hope that you enjoy these podcasts, and these are helping you with your listening comprehension as you're learning American English. So, last episode, we talked about the 4th of July and many of the most patriotic things that you can think of, like the meaning of the United States, of the American flag. We talked about the Star Spangled Banner, and what else did we talk about? The Pledge of Allegiance. So these are all very patriotic things about America. Now I want to talk to you about a individual story about the 4th of July. So as a kid, the most important thing about the 4th of July wasn't the U.S. history or the flag or even the barbecue. The most important thing was fireworks. So kids love to play with fireworks. And usually fireworks are not available for purchase. I'm not sure if I think they're even illegal. But within a week or so of 4th of July, you're allowed to buy them and to light them and set them off. So I'm going to tell you a story of how when I was a kid, an accident happened. So fireworks are dangerous, and I saw something in the newspaper today or online or something, and it said, someone is reading this, or someone in the world, or someone in the United States is going into this weekend with 10 fingers, but will finish the weekend with 9 fingers or less. So what that means is that someone is going to blow off a firework and lose a finger, out there in the United States, because every year people get injured during the 4th of July setting off fireworks. So I'll tell you a quick story that I have from my childhood that is a true story. One year when we were all kids, about 12 years old, we'd ride around in the neighborhood and we had our BMX bikes. Kids used to always ride around on their bicycles. And we were gathered around and we had fireworks. It was, I don't know if it's 4th of July or a few days before, a few days after, but we had these fireworks. And one of my good friends put the firework in his shoelaces. And the firework was what's known as a ground blooming flower. It's kind of a fat tube looking firework, and it's pink in color. And once you light it, what it would do is it would spin around in circles, and it would change colors from red to orange to yellow, and it would spin really fast. And it would last, probably at least like 60 seconds, a minute or something like that. And sometimes we would even throw them. You're not supposed to throw them, but kids do stuff like that, and they'd spin around and fly. So my friend, let's just call him Charlie. Charlie put the ground blooming flower in the laces of his tennis shoe and said, "Hey, anybody got a light?" And now Charlie was always the center of attention, and he liked to, he's kind of a joker. He's a very charming, entertaining guy. And Charlie asked if anyone had a light. Now another fellow, I'm changing his name. Let's call him David. David said, "Hey, sure, I've got a light." And he had a lighter. And so David lit the firework on Charlie's shoe. And all of us kids, probably like 10 kids or so, we were amazed to see this. And as Charlie had this burning firework on his shoe, he started standing up, jumping and laughing and dancing around with this thing going off on his foot. And we all laughed and thought it was funny. But David, the one who lit the firework, he realized that this thing was actually burning into this kid's foot. So he ran up to a neighbor's house, turned on the water hose, and put out the fireworks, sprayed Charlie's foot. And we all watched, and then Charlie, he no longer was laughing and dancing. He just laid on the ground on his back. And he was like, oh man, he was injured. The firework had burned into his foot. So let me fast forward a little bit in the story. And I don't want to give you too many gross, disgusting details because there was blood involved. And what had happened was that the firework, normally it spins, but because it was trapped in the shoelaces on his shoe, it had basically burnt like a blowtorch right down on the top of his foot. And it had burnt through the flesh, through the skin, and it had even gone down almost to his tendons and stuff for his toes on the top of his foot. And later, Charlie, I can tell you one more detail. He was wearing red Converse All-Stars tennis shoes. Do you know what Converse All-Stars tennis shoes look like? They're made of that thin canvas. So it's not like a big fat Nike with all this material. It's just a very thin layer of canvas that forms the top of the shoe, the tongue of the shoe, right? And so that's what the firework had burned down through the tongue of the shoe and into the top of Charlie's foot. Now, the end of the story is that Charlie ended up going to the hospital and spent the summer in the hospital for, I think, 2 months recovering. And why did it take so long? Because with burn injuries, sometimes the burn is so bad that the skin in the area of the burn is completely destroyed. And so then you have to make a skin graft. So Charlie had to have a big chunk of skin. Imagine just peeling off, about 6, like the whole top of his foot, let's say 6 inches or so. And then, 4 inches wide, 6x4 patch of skin from his thigh. So the surgeons removed that good piece of skin from his leg, and then I was going to say transplant, but that's not the right word. Then they grafted it onto the top of his burnt foot. And they removed all the old skin and everything and patched it up, kind of like, like a patch of a cloth, but on the top of his foot. And so then after that, Charlie had to recover, and the skin grew on, and the doctor said that he was very, very close to losing his big toe. If the firework hadn't stopped burning, if David hadn't hosed down the firework and put it out, that firework might have burnt down through the tendon of his big toe, and they might have had to cut off his big toe. And then he wouldn't have been able to walk like normal for his whole life. So he was very fortunate that he kept his toes, and he did have to spend the summer, in the hospital, and that was probably when he was in, 6th or 7th grade, which, summertime is pretty important for kids. But he recovered, and he now walks fine, and the only thing that he had was he had a scar on his leg where he had the skin graft harvested or removed from his leg. So that's the end of the story. So remember, don't play with fireworks when on the 4th of July, or don't let your kids play with fireworks. It's a lot of fun, but it can be very dangerous. And every year there are injuries from playing with fireworks or firecrackers. Firecrackers are the ones that pop really loud. Fireworks are the ones that usually have, I guess it's a general term. It does include firecrackers, but yeah. So that's it for today, my friends. happy 4th of July. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed that story. That is a true story. I swapped out some of the names, but I still remember it like it was yesterday. So if you'd like to listen to more of my podcast, check out Streetwise English Podcast on Spotify and Apple and all the podcast platforms. And also visit my website, streetwise.com. And of course, you're welcome to take a one-on-one American English tutoring class with me as well. Thank you for listening, my friends, and I wish you the best in your study, and I'll see you next time. Adios, amigos.